Hello again, it's Mark here from GrimTreeGames.com, online game store and blog. And today we're going to have a look at Rex, Final Days of an Empire, and we're going to have an overview of the game and as to how you play it. So we've done the unboxing, so these are all the bits laid out, ready to play. It's a little bit of an epic game, okay, so it's a big A. So what I want to do is, I want to give you the broad strokes of an overview, so you know roughly how you play it. And get a feel for it. I'm not going to go into any depth because it's vast. Okay, it's not a bad thing. It's just there's a lot to it. So this is the board. This represents a planet that each of the players is going to try and take over. Okay. To win the game, you need to occupy, control. In other words, have all your people in 3 of these locations, and the locations are the ones with the little red marks, which are the strongholds. So you need, there's a few dotted around the board. If one player at the end of the round controls 3, he wins. Super simple, yeah? To get your guys on the ground, and the currency of the game is influence. And what we do is influence is placed on the board, and then you can go for the influence, grab it, spend it on your guys, which then means you can move out and attack people and occupy control points. So that's the plan. So the game, like any of these games, is played in phases. Okay. So before we get into the phases, I'll just show you the players over here. So if you zip over here, I've set up 3 example players. You've got your player sheet that has all of the special rules for your race. There's several races in the game to choose from. Again, we won't go into the rules of what each race does, because you have that joy when you play the game yourself, because there's lots of different rules. So we've got our people in reserve that we can put on the battlefield here for this guy. We've got our starting influence. We've got 5 starting influence. We've got leaders here. Each side starts with a number of leaders. We have ally cards. We have traitor cards over here. And then each player starts with a strategy card, and we'll get into what all those do as we fly through the game, no doubt. Okay, so influence. Influence is the currency of the game. Okay, it's what drives the game forward. Now it's played over 8 rounds. So at the end of the 8th round, if somebody hasn't controlled if somebody doesn't have control over 3 strongholds, then there are other victory conditions that can occur. And each race has its own set of victory conditions as well, but that's the overall idea. So what you do first is you pick up an influence card at the start of the turn. What that does is that tells you where to place influence that you can then go and try and find. So we'll quickly do it. So we've got 6 and an 8, so we grab the influence, so 6, can we find it in the Tron, I put 6 in Tron and Psychology. So it's good fun. Sector 12. You notice as well, each of the places have sector. Have sector numbers on, and that is relevant and important. And 8 in the pleasure district. That sounds good, doesn't it? Pleasure district. Is there sector 3? Sector 3 will be over this end somewhere. Sector 3 pleasure districts. Okay. So we've done that. That's round 1. We've pulled that card. You look at them cards to gauge how many rounds that you've had. There's other cards in there, but we'll come to that later. The next phase is the bidding phase. Now, first turn it wouldn't really matter a lot, but for the other turns it will be important. You get to bid on strategy cards. Basically, and again, you've noticed that I'm referring to the rules here every now and again because there's a few of them and I want to get them right. You get to bid on an amount of strategy cards. I think it's 3 cards, a number of strategy cards. Number of cards equal to the number of players. So in this example, it'd be 3. Okay. So what we do is these strategy cards. I'm going to pull 3. Okay. And we'll place them up here at the top of the deck. So these 3 cards, strategy cards, are used in combat. All of them. That's the idea, to give you a leg up in combat. But you don't just get them. You've got to bid on them. And what happens is you go through each card, you don't look at the card, you go down each card, you say, first card, go around the table, each person gets to bid influence, because that's the currency of the game, to claim that card. So whoever the highest bidder is, as soon as everybody passes, you're allowed to bid, right? Yeah, simple. Whoever gets highest bid gets that card. Brilliant. It's one card. Same with the next card, same with the card after. The clever mechanic is if everybody passes, then it's all over. Put the cards away. So on the first card, if everybody goes, no. And if you're like playing the waiting game, yeah, you want to see how high it gets to, so you think, I won't bid this time. If you haven't thought it through properly, and everybody else passes as well, you're scuppered, you've lost your chance. So that's the bidding phase where you get the strategy cards. And I'll show you what those cards do when we get to combat, I think, rather than do it now. So after the bidding phase is the recruitment phase. Not relevant now because we don't have any casualties, so we'll come back to that next time. Manoeuvre phase. Okay, so each unit on the map can move 2 spaces. So let's zoom down to the green guys here. So we can move 2 spaces. So each of the spaces is joined up by a line. So I can split them up and I can go 1, 2. Now if I look where the influence is, where did the influence go? All too far away from me, I think, to claim. But I can make my way over there. So I could go 1, 2 to there. Okay, now let's just have a look at these the symbols at the bottom of the map here. This little green one means that this has a shield on it. And that means that when the big fleet, which we'll get to in a minute, starts bombing the map, if you're here, you're safe, basically. You can't move in and out whilst the fleet's over the top of you, but you are safe. So that's one to bear in mind. The little blue one here, under this means that this is something that will generate influence. These are in, this place, is in the deck of cards, influence will appear here. That's what that means. If we come to this one here, we've got the familiar stronghold icon and the shield icon. We've got a middle one, the shuttle bay, I think it is. Basically, if you control this, you can move more spaces. So that would be good. That would be something to have. So I think that's essentially all the different types of spaces. One more, if we zoom right down here. This one is out of bounds here because we've only got 3 players. You only use that if you have a maximum number of players. So that's cut off. Okay, so we've moved our people. Brilliant. We can also, as well as move in this phase, we can deploy stuff as well, we can put one down. Now, we can spend 1 influence per unit to place them. We can place them wherever we want. We can even place them in occupied spaces, but it costs 2 influence. So for example, say I wanted to deploy somebody there just to control it, to get the influence. I can spend 1 influence and bring him there. Brilliant, so I then control that space. Other people can do that. That doesn't guarantee me that space, remember, because other people can do that as well. It'll cost them more to do that now. But anyway, so there we go. So deployment. So moving and deploying. So let's just, for argument's sake, let's just fly some people around the board. We can actually now, with this guy, go 1, 2 to there. We can have a bit of a scrap. That'd be quite good. And he's going to go 1, 2 to there. Right, brilliant. If you notice the red guy in this case, well, this player, I don't have anybody out yet. That's because his starting terms here say they don't actually say where to put anybody because they all start in reserve. So you actually play them in this phase, and I've got more influence to do that. So it lets me do that. So I would spend 5, and I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would let's say, for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to put them all over there. There we go. Super duper. So we've done bidding, we've recruited, doesn't matter. Manoeuvred, we've manoeuvred, and fighting. So fighting is it's in depth. There's no dice in this. It's all strategy based and trying to bluff each other. We use these dials. So each person takes a dial, and what they do is they say, well, you go around each instance of combat and you work it out. So it'll be these 2 guys here first. Okay, so yeah. Each person commits so many units that he has. Now, if you lose, you will lose all of the units in the space, basically, all wiped out.